Hey guys, it's me, Mario. And today we're going to continue Torgor the Minotaur. How you guys doing today? Hope you're doing well. Let me turn down the music. There we go. Chapter 4, Across the Deadly Marsh. Tom urged Storm forwards through the marsh. The stallion tossed his head nervously, but kept on moving, picking his way around pools covered in green scum. Through weed beds and across tussocks of grass. With every step, his legs sank deeper into the swamp. "This is no use," Helena said. "The ground won't bear the weight of Storm carrying us. We'll have to get off and walk," Tom replied. Without Tom and Helena on his back, Storm could move more easily. Tom led him carefully, trying to find a firm track to follow. Helena walked on Storm's other side, and Silver brought up the rear. Mud splatting all over his gray fur. Tom's feet sank into the marsh, and he felt cold water soaking through his boots. Clouds of flies rose into the air as he brushed past weed beds. The mud he disturbed gave off a foul smell. Helena suddenly let out a cry of alarm as she tripped and ended up knee-deep in mud. This is taking too long," Helena explained. "Mel could be hurting Tagus while we're stuck here like this." Top grabbed her hand and hauled her out. He was afraid she was right, but all they could do was go on. No one else was able to help Tagus right about now. Glancing around, he spotted a line of trees bordering the marsh. In the near distance, their branches were bare except for a few ragged leaves, and their twisted black shapes were outlined against the stormy red sky. "Let's head over there and walk along the edge of the marsh," he suggested, pointing to the trees. "The tree roots will make the ground more solid and keep our feet out of the bog." "All right," Helena agreed. "We'll certainly be able to move faster." Tom was glad to lead Storm up a rough slope out of the swamp and towards the trees. Silver raced ahead and then stopped to shake himself vigorously, scattering mud everywhere. "Hey, stop that," Helena laughed. "I'm muddy enough, thank you." As Tom approached the spiny he saw that it was thicker than it had looked from the distance. with a narrow path in its midst. Though they weren't any leaves on the trees, the branches crisscrossed and shut out the light. Tom swung himself into Storm's saddle again. "Let's follow that path," he said, decisively. "When we get to the other side of the trees, when we get to the other side of the trees, we should be able to loop back to the village and avoid the marsh altogether. It is out of our way, but I still think it will be faster than going across the bog." "Sounds like a plan," Elena said, as she climbed up onto Storm. Tom clicked his tongue in to urge the horse into the shadow of the trees. But Storm refused to budge. He was trembling and sweating again. "Come on, boy." Tom flicked the stallion's neck lightly with the reins. "We can't stay here." Reluctantly, Storm began to move. Elena called to Silver, but the wolf did not come straight away. Instead, he stood stiff-legged at the edge of the trees. Elena called again. Silver let out a chilling howl before following them into the forest, his head down and his tail dropping. It was dark under the trees, with only a few thin beams of blood-red light, finding their way through the tangled branches. The path soon grew narrower, and Tom had to guide the Storm carefully to avoid the sharp thorns on the bushes. Gnarled tree roots broke through the ground, waiting to trip them up. The air was clammy, and Tom found it harder to breathe. "This is going to be our hardest quest yet," he said, "but we'll come through. I just know it." Storm rolled his eyes and let out a loud neigh, as if he were agreeing. "Silver hates this place," Elena said, glancing down at her friend. The wolf was panting, his tongue hanging out. "But at least we're out of that awful marsh." Tom was about to reply when he felt something thin and sharp poke at his ribs. He looked down to see that a low branch from one of the trees was prodding him in the side. He pushed it away, but the branch immediately thrust forwards again and poked him even harder. "Hey, that tree just went for me." It can't have," Elena retorted. "Trees don't move." Her voice died away as the sound of creaking, and rustling rose from the forest, almost as if the trees were stretching their limbs. Above his head, Tom could see branches moving, though there wasn't a breath of wind. "They're alive!" he exclaimed. One of the branches swooped down. Elena ducked. It retreated, but another branch attacked, its fingers raking at Elena's hair. "We've got to get out of here," Elena cried. "These trees won't..." want to hurt us. And that was chapter 4. Okay, gotta check the name of it. Across the Deadly Marsh, chapter 4. But yeah. This book series is really good. Hope you guys enjoy reading with me if you are. And you may notice that I'm switching up a few words here and there. Instead of saying one thing, I say a familiar thing that is easier to speak for me. But yeah. That was Torgor the Minotaur. Chapter 4. It's only 11 minutes, but I read fast, what can I say? My goodness. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed my read through Beast Quest. And I hope I will see you in the next chapter. Or whenever I make another video. Alright. Bye-bye.